Thank you, Tanya. Talking about the future, we're going to move on to another couple of presentations now that are talking about educating the person-centered professionals of the future. And our first speaker on that subject matter is Dr. Hanna Meyer. And Hanna is professor and long-standing head of the Institute of Nursing Science at the University of Vienna and the Department of Nursing Science at the Karl Landsteiner University for Health Sciences. So her research focuses on person-centered care, and she's engaged in both teaching and research activities around person-centered care, and particularly care of the older person, and research ethics, as well as research methodology and theory development. So Hanna, welcome. I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentation about what we should be doing about the future. And I think you're going to be presenting a European project that will be illustrating this. So I think I'd like to give the floor to you now and for the next 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Sean, for this introduction. So, and now I will hope my presentation will appear. No. Yeah, I see. I hope we will leave it in the footprint, but it's not my presentation now. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I will share my screen. Yes, that looks good. So I try to go forward. No. Okay. Oh, no, it doesn't work now. Doesn't move. Is it okay?
Looking good, yeah.
Okay, fine. So, good morning. Now, it's really a pleasure for me to be invited to, for this conference, and it's really exciting for me because the project I will present to you is not a project that is finished. It's not a project that is ongoing now. It's an idea, a little bit more than an idea. It's a proposal that we're going to submit next week to Erasmus. So I share this very, very new idea with you. Our topic is creating a framework to foster development of person-centered practitioners in undergraduate nursing education programs in German-speaking countries, and it should be an Erasmus Plus project. And this is the proposal. First, I will show you our consortium. It consists of 5 academic institutions within 4 countries. I represent the Karl Landsteiner University of Health Science in Krems in Austria, together with my colleague Jasmin. And the other side in Austria is the University of Applied Science Wiener Neustadt, represented by Sabine Kekodi. Our partner in Germany is Doris Eberhardt from the Deggendorf Institute of Technology. Claudiana, the Center for Further Education in Nursing, is the site in South Tyrol. South Tyrol is the German-speaking part of Italy, represented by Franco Mantovan. And last but not least, the University of Applied Sciences in Switzerland, represented by Christoph von Dach. And this consortium represents the German-speaking parts of Europe. Why only the German-speaking parts? I will explain a little more later on. Let me give you just first a short insight into the planned background, the background of the planned project. When we follow the PCP framework, we know that nurses' attributes are important as prerequisites for developing person-centered practice. It's crucial to be a compassionate carer with person-centered attributes and skills to care for patients in a person-centered way. But these attributes, skills, and knowledge is nothing that appears from itself. It is necessary to reach nurses during their basic education to ensure that they possess these attitudes when they enter the professional practice. And I know there is a lot of work about person-centered practice, practice development, and last but not least, you will hear about the framework for person-centered curriculum. But still, we see from an educational perspective, it is not really clear which competences need to be developed to meet these attributes, how they can be developed in the context of basic nursing education, and how teachers can promote this and to develop a person-centered teaching and learning culture. So our project will focus on this gap, and we will try to close it in some way. So the aim of our project is now to develop a framework for undergraduate nursing education to foster the development of person-centered practitioners in German-speaking countries. The concrete objectives of our planned project are to identify person-centered competences and how they can be developed and evaluated in undergraduate programs, to investigate the required attitude, pedagogical skills, and knowledge of teaching staff, to describe what is needed for the development of a person-centered teaching and learning culture, and to derive recommendations for nursing curricula and practice development in teaching. Now, before I will present our plan and how we think that we could achieve this aim and these objectives, I will explain a little more why we focus only on the German-speaking countries. It may look like a little bit to exclude all the other countries in Europe, but that's not our thought behind that. Why in the German-speaking countries? In Austria and Germany, the German-speaking part of Switzerland, and South Tyrol, we have crucial similarities belonging to the education of nurses at the university level. All these countries have a very short history in nursing education in bachelor programs, within bachelor programs. And Switzerland and Germany did not finish the complete transformation into the undergrad system until now, and Austria finished that last year. So we are a little behind other developments in Europe around education of nurses at the bachelor's level. We all have comparable professional frameworks, conditions, training structures, and curriculums. We all are in the situation that we would not change, or we could not change the whole curricula in a foreseeable time. Our systems are not that like, and we share the same language, and this is an advantage for developing tools and instruments. So we decided to create a consortium within these German-speaking countries as a first step, and maybe we can transform our ideas or the framework, hopefully, in all other countries. it would be sensible for them as well. Now, let me go further to present the idea we developed, how we can go further in our project. The theoretical background of the whole project is, not surprising, the PCP framework, but we will refer to the PCP curriculum framework as well. And this framework will be presented by Neil Cook in the next presentations. I don't have to on that. Our project is built on 4 steps, and the overarching principles are that the whole project should be empirically based, theoretically informed, co-creative, participative, and action-oriented. The first step is, we call it informing the framework. And the focus is on gathering experiences and perspectives from students and teachers to inform our framework from the lived experience. And we will use the person-centered moments and focus groups. So we will focus on competences of students. Which competences should they develop? And we will use this person-centered moments to get a connection to their experienced practice, but we will also focus on competences of teachers, which competences they must develop, and on environmental facts that will give us insights into what we need to create person-centered cultures. So the focus groups will build on this collected experiences through the method of the person-centered moments, and then we will discuss with students and teachers to get more insights into their lived experience and what we can learn about necessary competences and environmental factors. The second step is developing the framework, and we will go that way through a national and cross-national data analysis of the first step, and then through a co-creative model development process and a broad consensus finding. I will show you the idea how we can manage that later. We would do thematic analysis, action-oriented, and we follow action-oriented participatory approach and transnational consensus conference. The third step is translating the framework into the educational practice. So we will develop a didactic concretization and a development of strategies for the development of a person-centered teaching and learning culture. So we will carry out didactic analysis and development of didactic approaches, and we will develop a toolbox for teachers and strategy development according to the principles of program architecture theory and cluster evaluation. I will show you this idea later, after this overview. And the last step is to deal with the thought of enabling evaluation of this framework. And therefore, we will develop an evaluation framework or plan and a toolbox. And we think it would be a multi-method and multi-perspective toolbox And our plan is, in the first step, to focus on the questionnaire for students and on an observational tool, maybe similar to the WCAT. So we will come back to the person-centered practice frameworks and the tools as well, and will adapt them. This is a little insight in the picture we painted for our idea of informing the framework. The database that will inform the framework is driven by and reflected on the both theoretical frameworks we will use, but also on the experience and the reflection of this in the focus groups and the person-centered moments that will guide the discussions in the focus group for representing the lived experience of students and teachers. We will collect this person-centered moments and will carry out the focus groups in each country separately, but within a common and shared plan and with shared methods. So it should be available and be to one big database of qualitative data. Our idea to develop the framework out of this database is the following. The database will be developed along two steps. First, all data will be analyzed at the level of each country, like some idea of a within case analysis, and then we will carry out an analysis across the countries. So we have one strong database across all the countries. And after that, we will work together in the consortium to develop a first draft of the framework based on our data, the theoretical and philosophical background, and literature as well. The next step is going into a co-creative phase. We will carry out co-creative workshops with students and teachers in each country to develop the framework further, compared again with theory filled with literature. We will develop it further in the transnational group. And after that, we will discuss the refined framework in a consensus conference, first on a national and afterwards on a cross-national level. So we will carry out a consensus conference in a hybrid form. First, we have the discussion on the national level in person in each country, and then we can come together online in a big consensus conference, and we will hopefully get a consensus through all the countries, and we hopefully final framework. I will give you one last example of our ideas, how we can achieve our goals. You can see here the example of one of the two steps, how we will translate the framework into teaching and learning into the teaching and learning context. The first, as I told you, will be the didactic concretization and the development of and testing of the toolbox. And this shows the other steps step, and the development of strategies for person-centered teaching and learning culture. The starting point will be this developed, hopefully, this developed educational framework, competences framework. And we will first, now we go the other way around, we will first go through a transnational joint development process to develop overarching strategies, how we can bring this framework into life. And these overarching strategies should be in kind of overarching or abstract strategies. And after a consensus phase, we will go through a national development process. So these more overarching abstract strategies will come into life, and we will develop concrete recommendation procedures for every country. So we can make sure that we all are connected to the same framework. So it follow this year of cluster of architecture. Yeah? So we can be sure that we follow all one framework and we're all connected to overarching strategies, but we can practice it in every country in our way.
Oh, sorry, Hanna.
Yeah, I'm at the end. It's my last slide. So I gave you now, in the name of the whole consortium, a short insight into our proposal and planned research. And maybe we can bring it into reality. So we have to think our thumbs, and then maybe we can bring it into other contexts or countries. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. And earlier we were talking about global and globalizing. This may not be globalizing, but it's very much a macro level you will be operating. It's nice to see a project that's using a lot of the principles of collaboration, inclusion, and participation. Did you have a key question for the audience that someone might want to react to?
Yeah, I'm a little bit. I was a little bit nervous before this presentation because we want to submit it next week. And when I ask you, how does this idea, how are you with this? Can you go through with me with this idea and how this idea is comparable to our ideas or to the whole idea and to the work you did on the curriculum framework? I'm a little bit nervous because when you say, no, that's stupid thing.
I don't think we would be living our values if we were just to say, no, this is not good. But I think there may be some thoughts that people may like to share with you just to round.
Yeah, maybe you can
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Share.
I'd like to give a critical but also supportive comment to Hanna.
Yep.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm very sorry I can't find the hand to raise on my screen. Hello, I'm Anja Hermann from Switzerland. Hi Hanna, hi everybody. It's really inspiring, this project. I wrote a question in the chat. Will it also require practical locations? Because, for example, in Switzerland, students are partly in the high schools and partly in the practical locations. So I just wondered if to implement the framework, you need some institutions when the students have their internships, so that we really can
Yeah.
how do you say, change
Yeah.
the practice.
I think that's that anyone in a German-speaking country that's involved in a practice setting where students are learning on the work floor how to be a person-centered practitioner, I would advise you to contact Hanna and keep a close ear to the ground and keep linked in so that you can be involved in the project. I think the way you presented it, it's a very inclusive project, so you will be welcoming practice settings, hospitals, homes, social services, whatever, that are going to enable the person-centered practitioners of the future to learn how to do it in practice rather than in the school.
Yeah, of course we discussed this. I think we will capture the experience of practice learning through these person-centered moments, and I think we will include practitioners maybe in this consensus steps with a broad audience, and with practitioners as well, so we can include the thoughts of the practitioners. And maybe when we have this framework developed, we can go a step further to develop it further when we bring it in the practice context. But I think, yeah, it's really hard to get both things in one project in the same way, but we will include practitioners in this consensus views and conference.
I can see Chris's hand is up again, or is it still up? Chris, what? Just to round us off in a minute.
It's still up, Sean. I'll put it up early this time just to get in. Thank you, Hanna, for your presentation. The issues are of extreme importance in terms of teaching students. My comment is about, it picks up from the last point, is concerned with the way you collect data about involving organizations in their thoughts, because the one thing that really bugs me from my own experience is that it's one thing to prepare students in teaching programs to be person-centered, but the problem is, do we set them up to fail? Because when you put them into organization practice, and that the culture of the organization isn't conducive to person-centered practice, it could only lead to frustration, because we teach them one way, but they can't practice in reality. So it seems to me that any project concerned with preparing students in undergraduate programs must involve the organizations in which they're going to be placed. So I'm just thinking about your collection of data, whether you need to pay more attention to that aspect of it. So I'll leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
that's an important point. And Hanna, every success with the submission next week.
Thank
We
you.
will really be looking forward to hearing and seeing some kind of champagne pop from you, and seeing the framework developed and applied in the many worlds in which person-centered practitioners engage in whilst they're in their professional training, because they're engaged in many worlds, not just a university world, but and not just a hospital, but also many other places. And I think that's the point Chris was trying to make for us. So thank you.